What is up, everybody? Excuse me, let me get my throat clear here. What is up? Okay, hold on. Let me get the throat clear now. Hold on. Okay, what is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dublin Plus Care. And as always, have to always remember that we've reached out directly and indirectly, that team, to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And we're coming to near the end of 2025. And I think we're going to probably by the end of this year hit 500,000. Yes, yes, yes. Really good to have that happen. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And you are watching the Morning Five with myself and my usual co-host. Let me get some water here. My throat is okay. I think that is better. That's the Dr. Vibe boy. It's much better. And my co-host Ryan Oneil Knight. Ryan is not with us today. He has to take care of some business with his company called Detailing Nights, so he won't be with us today, but we're going hand solo, but that's okay. We're broadcasting live on Friday, September 5th. For a lot of people, the last day of the first new week of school. And how's it been for everybody, or for a lot of people transitioning back into the world of school and all that? And I can say, at least in the Toronto area, the traffic is back to normal, back to good old normal on the good old Toronto scene. But hey, that's okay. That's okay. So hope everyone's had a good week. Myself, actually been a quieter week. Been a little quiet and doing it deliberately so, because I know there's a lot of things that I have to get done between now and the end of the year. So I'm just cooling out. The weather, it's definitely fall in the Toronto area. It's cooler nights, but you know what? I love it when I can go to sleep and leave my window open and have fresh air. That is always a really good thing. Having the fresh air is just so nice, so cool, etc., etc. And I want to say also to all of you who gave a big shout out during the summer. I had a summer intern, called him Producer Matt, and his last show with us was last Friday, and a lot of you showed a lot of love to him, and he really appreciates that. I chatted with him this week, and he wanted to say, hey, thank everyone for making it a great experience for him, and a lot of good stuff going on. So that's about it. For those who are into it, NFL football started last night. And it's funny, I used to be such a big football fan of the NFL, and I don't watch it that much anymore. I basically, go to YouTube, watch the highlights. Thank you very much. Sitting through a whole 3.5, 4 hour game, it doesn't do it for me anymore. Doesn't do it anymore. I'm more likely to watch more of a American college football game than an NFL game. But even then, got more important priorities to do in my existence. So that is up. But if you're a sports head, you have a lot of things going on. NFL football is back. Those who still watch baseball, I don't watch baseball. I don't know too many people watch baseball. Then U.S. Open tennis is going on. Yeah, so a lot of convergence, and then within a month or two, NHL hockey's happening. So all these things converging at the same time. I know there's other sports that are happening. Those are just the ones off the top of my head. And this week, just spent some time with just communicating with people. Have basically a full lineup of people on the Morning Vibe this month. We have coming back Donovan Ralph Martin of the Daily Scrum. We were supposed to have him on monthly, and some things just didn't align in regards to schedules, but he's going to be on this month, and then he'll be coming on the first Monday of each month starting next month. Emma Ansa, as you know, she's back. She's on the last Monday of each month, and actually she's going to be on twice this month. And she's actually right now enjoying TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, which is happening downtown Toronto, which there was a time I was into that stuff, but I'm just not into it anymore. I just feel like if I got invited downtown to it, I just go, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me anymore. But she's gonna be on twice this month. We've got Carolyn Nicole coming up this Monday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And Desiree King, who's going to continue her craft series about helping elderly transition. So we have a very full Septembre, as they say en Francais, September going on this month. What has been going on in your world? I see there are people already jumping in live. What's been happening? Chat it to me. What's been going on? It's put in the chat where you're chiming in from. Would love to shout you out. And also, you know what? Put in the comments section, what's a win you've had this week? Is there a win that you've had this week well, at least in this part of in the fall, just any sort of win, big or small? Another interesting conversation, and maybe, we have Wayne Harris coming back. The whole transition to a lot of people who were during the pandemic and post-pandemic were working a lot from home, and more, they're being called back in the office. In Canada here, especially the major banks have basically told their employees, no more work from home. They're transitioning. A number of them were doing 2 days a week recently. Now it's going to 3 days a week into the office. And by the end of the year, most of the major banks in Canada will have their employees in 4 days a week. Wow. And it's funny, I was at a social event a few weeks ago, and I was speaking to a lady who's been with a bank, at least 20 plus years. And she said they've called her back, but the problem is they've called all these employees back. They don't have enough space for them all. They don't have enough space for all the employees who they've called back. But that's been an experience I've had in the corporate world when I was full-time employed in the corporate world. Whenever things are launched, there are always hiccups. They never spent time doing the testing that needed to be done for this stuff. But so I don't know if you're involved or talk with people who are in that situation, but yeah, they're all, and traffic is not getting any better, at least in the metropolitan areas. So that's what we have been up to. Everyone's just watching. So hopefully we will get you engaged in today's conversation. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break in about a few seconds, and we'll do some housework. Then we'll have our monthly visit from Mr. Wayne Harris. We'll catch up with going on with him, and then we'll get right into, we've got someone who has chimed in, who is saying, Natalie, look at this. Natalie Cox, thank you. I spent quality time with my mother. My pepper plants are abundant. My garden project was successful. Yes, I love that. I love the first thing, spending quality time with your mother. Amazing. That is great. Pepper plants are abundant. Actually, I wonder how many people do the garden thing. I haven't done the garden thing for a while. Good close associate of mine, Roger Dundas of Buy Blacks, he does gardening. That's his jam during the summer. Gardening, yard work, he loves that kind of stuff. So good to have you here. I haven't heard from you before, and thank you. Richard says, big ups to this moment taking place, sharing valuable information. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate it. That is cool. Love that. And Natalie says, tuning in from Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill. All right. This is good. Well, I'm looking forward to having you guys contribute to today's conversation. We're going to have a really good time today because Wayne Harris is in the house. But we'll be back in 30 seconds with some housework, and then we're going to get Wayne Harris on. So we'll see you in 30 seconds. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. These are two ladies. They're not all over the place. They're forward and they're straight shooters.
I got to stand in front.
No wonder people don't understand what the Democrats have been doing. That man lied 36,000 times, and we know this because you all counted it.
This is part of the story that a lot of news outlets are not talking about. Yeah, make sure you catch them. Saturday afternoons at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. Aisha K. Staggers, Laura Lala Key, two wonderful Black American women. And it's primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. And they, during their time on live, try to make sense of the nonsense that's going on in America. And a lot of people would say, whether you're in America or outside America, there's a lot of nonsense going on. All right, let's do some stuff here. So please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button, especially for today. We had two people I hadn't recognized before, Natalie and Richard. Thank you so much. But if you're up to it, please subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. Join our Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, feel free to email me at dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. Can't forget the great Dr. Tachi, who graces us with her presence periodically. And she runs a great platform called Indie Soup Media. And it's been around for about 18, 19 months. YouTube channel. Almost 28,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I always tell Dr. Tachi, you never mentioned this, but only 4% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. So think about that. Think about that. Think about that. So make sure you check out and support. And a lot of the content you see here is also on her channel. Also want to say that coming up on this Monday's show, I mentioned her a little bit earlier, Carol Nicole of the Energy Shack Juice Bar. She's a certified holistic nutritionist. She'll be talking about which water, understanding the pros and cons of all types of water. And you know what? Almost all the time I have this with me, it's full of water. Even in the car, full of water. Took my sip. There you go. There you go. So we got that happening. All right. We got some more comments chiming in. So let's see who else is. I got a bunch of people coming in already. So let's do this. Richard says, tuning in from the beaches, Toronto. I'm a gardener, but in-house, not outdoor, as I don't have that lawn space. All right. Fitness IQ Cam says, morning. Richard also says, Wayne, a.k.a. Bossman, on the scene, been watching and so glad to be back. Let's Wade is already shaking his head, so you must actually know. Richie's smiling in the green room. Richard says, done. Thank you for subscribing. And speaking of which, about subscribing, we are now, the YouTube channel is now finally over 1,890 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe or tell people about it. Would I be so jacked? We'd be so jacked to get to 1,900 subscribers. Okay. Richard says, Ryan has been bugging me for a while to step up and come out of the background. I love it. Ryan is here. Oh, Natalie goes, Richard, my peppers are in pots on my patio. I do urban farming and small space growing. Love that. And in the house, Opal Inspired. Good morning, all. Make sure you follow Open Inspired on YouTube. We got to get her to 1,000 subscribers. When is that? How many do you got right now, Opal? Please tell us, but do subscribe to her YouTube channel where she does a lot of great content for creators. And Richard, well, we got this going on here. Wayne, we'll get you on in a second. Richard says, Natalie would love to learn more from you. Also, are you interested in developing a gardening program for, wow, elementary kids? That's a good thing. I like that. That's a good thing. Oh, now we're on the gardening tip. Opal says, love my garden, totally therapeutic. And says, can you send your YouTube link here, please? I will try to, well, I'm going to be sharing a link a little bit later that has all my YouTube, Facebook, all that sort of stuff. All right, so Opal Inspired's at 846 subs. We're getting closer. Make sure you subscribe. And the great Heather Harris, good morning, Dr. Vibe and Vibers. Happy September. Hey, happy school year for you, Heather. I got to give you a call. You've been on my mind about praying for you for the upcoming school year. And Richard says, Opal, all right. Man, we've got to stop because Wayne Harris will never get on at this rate. But one other thing I want to just share for everybody. if you'd like to call in, if you got a question or a take a look in the corner. And if you go to, or you can just do here, whether it's on your smartphone, laptop, desktop, tablet, go to your you can go to your browser, put in callme.rode.com, put in the code FSPL8L, and the letters are in capitals. And when you go to that site, there's already a code in there. You can just type over it. No worry. No worry. And we'd love to get someone calling in this morning and asking Mr. Harris or talking about with him about some things. Heather Harris says, okay, let's see if it's coming up. Says, thank you. And Opal Inspired says, at Opal Inspired. All right. We've stopped now. We need to get Wayne Harris on here because but I love it when you develop your own community. And also, too, you can see in the corner, if you want to call, you can also swipe the QR code and we'll get you right into where you need to go. All right, let's do this. His name's Wayne Harris. What's going on, Wayne Harris? Okay, you got to unmute yourself, my brother.
Dr. Vibe, can you hear me?
Dr. Harris, what's going on?
Doing well, doing well. How are
Good.
you and the fam jam?
I'm liking the color of the sleeve thing. What is that? Is that a turquoise? Is that a jade color?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of Tar Heel blue, you know. That's what.
Oh, what in celebration of Bill Belichick?
He's not doing too well with
Nope.
what talent he has at this point. But just like Prime Time did in Colorado, people will start coming to Carolina because Belichick is connected with the league. So give it a couple of years. If he's willing to do 2-3 years, the kids that go there will be in better position than they would have been if he wasn't at that school.
100%. What's been going on in your how is the end of the summer and the beginning of the fall treating you?
Well, let me tell you, I've been to Montreal back and forth in the last couple of weeks. Lots of engagement, weddings, babies being born. It's great. It's been a good summer of travel.
Love it.
Local travel, not too much to the States. Went to the States 3 times under the current regime. Mm-hmm.
You what?
And I can tell you, yeah, it's gone back to normal. No one cares anymore. Business as usual now.
Interesting.
So I'll tell you, I went to the border May 2-4 weekend, and I was one of 5 cars at the border going into the States. And on the way back, I was the only car coming back into Canada. But that's over. Yeah, that's over. The United States is... Listen, Vegas, I was there in Vegas in July, and Vegas was a ghost town.
Yes.
You get reservations anywhere. Hotels were upgrading your rooms, but food was very, very expensive.
You know, I can relate to, I've only been to Vegas once. It was on a business trip many years ago. I was there for about 4 days. First of all, it was hot. It was hot. And I didn't realize, oh yeah, well, we're right near a desert. Yeah. It was hot.
In the desert.
Food wise, I remember going, was it a place called Aria? Is it Aria? Buffet?
Very nice. I've stayed there. Yeah, very nice.
The food there was out of bounds.
Yeah, very nice.
Very, very nice. But you're saying the U.S. is a ghost town.
It was in May. I think it's back to almost regular numbers in places like New York. Again, we were in New York in August, my sister and I, and it didn't seem as busy.
Okay. So Richard says it's not what the TV tells. And he also says Miami is the new Vegas. Stanley Paul says, good morning, Wayne and Dr. Vibe. And
Morning.
Richard also says the decline has been happening for the last 5 years.
I've been to Vegas the last 5 years, and I've been to other places in the U.S. over the last 5 years, and I would say that numbers are down, and things are, like I said, more expensive because they have fewer people. I think they never recovered from COVID in the hospitality sectors. A lot of those people had to find something else to do. Like when I was there in Vegas, everybody who was driving Uber had a job 2 months previous.
Wow.
Yeah, it was tough. It's tough in Vegas for a lot of people.
Before we get into the life insurance, okay, I'm gonna two-part question. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your take on the economy right now?
We've been if 10 is great and 1 is recession, we are at 1.5.
Okay. Second part of the question, how's the economy for Black people on a scale to 1 to 10?
Based on what I've read about the 300 plus thousand Black women have been laid off in the
Mm-hmm.
last 6 months, I would say the Black family being predominantly run by female households, this is going to have an effect that's going to ripple through the Black community because you're taking out 70% to 85% of the time, depending on whose statistics you use, you're taking out the breadwinner. And they had very good jobs, predominantly in the public sector. And if you wipe out the public sector, you wipe out most of the Black women. So
It, it,
that
it,
doesn't
it,
bode
it,
well for us.
it's interesting. I'd like to know what stats are that for Black Canadian women, because obviously there's probably been a ripple effect here in this country and the impact
Right.
on Black women here and the Black family here.
It's interesting because I think the two organizations that would probably have the most up to date statistics on that would be the Black North Initiative and the Black Opportunity Fund. Both of those would probably have stats because Stats Canada doesn't use race based statistics. There are none. So you have to do it primary research yourself. And you've had a gentleman on your show who does primary research within the Black community, so he
Yeah,
might know those numbers.
100%. Man, I don't know what it is, but the comments are flying. This may be one of the shows, Wayne, that we don't get much about the main subject, but hey, we can flex. So good morning. Kofi Coates says, good morning, brothers. Good to have you here. He's one of my co-hosts on Black Men Can Talk on Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. We call him the Godfather. He is in the house. McMillan Group, Ray
Yes.
McMillan is here. Good morning, gentlemen. Uh, he's Richard says, correct, brother Wayne. So, Richard, just the thing, when you put that, I don't know what you're saying correct to because this show moves quick. So put as much down as possible because I don't know what you're saying correct to. So just an FYI. Heather Harris, the immigration enforcement has changed the workforce in the United States. Actually, I was reading something the other day that there are less people available than, more jobs or less jobs available than people available to take the jobs? I think there was a stat I was reading because, or I don't know if I got it right, but because of the immigration, there's less and less people for jobs out there in the United States.
For certain types of jobs, if
Yes.
it's general labor and agriculture, those jobs, farmers have their fields full of fruit and veg that needs to be brought in for harvest, and they don't have people to do it because the average American doesn't want to do that type of work. So you have a problem.
Okay. Okay, I'm jumping. So Wayne he can flex with this, so no problem. We got questions already too. So Richard says, sadly, it's a correlation to how many single mothers in our community.
That is correct.
Absolutely. He's in the house. Roger Dundas says, good morning. Good to have you here, Dr. Dundas.
Blacks.com. Let's go.
All right. Richard says, changes in employment due to the endemic and changes in hospitality due to less people having disposable income, or they hold their money longer.
Right. When you think that tomorrow is going to be worse than today, you start putting away your acorns. If you think tomorrow's colder than today, you start putting away your acorns. So people who would go to a restaurant and drop $100-200 on a weekly or bi-weekly basis are maybe doing that on a monthly basis or every 6 weeks as opposed to every bi-weekly because you don't know what the economy is going to be doing going forward. Like we know there's certain ebbs and flows in the markets, and September is one of those ebbs. People usually pull back. They take their profits in September and pay off all that vacation stuff that they did in the summertime, and then they go back into the market and market rises. And then right around U.S. Thanksgiving, if U.S. Thanksgiving is good, we usually have a good calendar and a year for the markets. But if U.S. Thanksgiving is weak, people start hoarding their acorns again, knowing that those bills are going to come in for Christmas in January, and they need to have the money for that. So again, the ebbs and flows in the market, that's just one of the indicators. Watch for September, the back to school drop in the market, and look for U.S. Thanksgiving as your indicator as to whether we're going to have a excited Christmas or a Christmas where people are spending less, which can not cause recession per se, although it can at a macro level. It will just cool the economy because people are thinking tomorrow's going to be worse than today.
Mr. Harris, you're getting the vibe on how this show's going to go today.
I'm good. I'm good to go with it. I'm watching. I'm watching the comments.
I just want to say to people, hey, it's good if you want to put in comment section, but also too, you can call in via your phone, your tablet, your laptop, desktop. Go to callme.com.road. When you go to that site, put in the code FSPL8L. There's a code right there. Just forget about that. Just put in that code. It'll ask you to put in your name, and it says join the conversation. I'll see that you're calling in here, and we can patch you in. So I just want to make sure, because I know a lot of people want to do that, but hey, you can have a voice here too. You can have a voice. You can have a voice. But back to the commentaries, because they're just flying here. So let's get back to it, because I'm trying to keep up. Richard asks, how does immigration impact this? How impact this for our Black women? So the impact of immigration on employment for Black women. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It depends on the country. I think that the immigration, be it legal or illegal in the United States, wasn't affecting the public sector where I believe the majority of those jobs were lost. So I don't think that it has any impact on those administrative or senior roles in departments that are being wiped out by Doge and the likes. So these were very, very low skilled jobs that I don't think most Black women are part of that part of the economy. The ones that lost the majority of those jobs were mid management to senior roles in departments that were being wiped out by Doge over the last 6 months.
Okay. Some things here. Richard says, more Canada than U.S., that comment. He also says, thanks, Dr. Vibe, for how to articulate my questions better. No problem. I've been doing this for a while, so once in a while I can read people's minds. Let's go back to some other things. Richard says, it's not that there's no people to do the work. They don't want to do the work, supposedly.
They don't want to do work that they can work full-time and not pay their rent and feed themselves. This is the challenge. If you're going to work full-time, you need to be making a minimum of $26 an hour in our city to have a chance, because rent is $2,000 and you haven't gotten your bus pass yet and you haven't eaten yet. So if you have car insurance, life insurance, home insurance, and you have kids, $19.50 or whatever the minimum wage is sounds impressive if this was 1985. But in 2025, it's not a living wage. Living wage is north of $25 to have a chance at a full-time job. And if you're working two jobs to get it done, if there's any level of disrespect or indignity at that job, you're going to walk away, because those jobs are plentiful. The problem is, can a human being, is it a human right to have a living wage in a first world G7 economy? And I think it is.
Okay. Just a few things. If you want to touch base with Wayne, his website, here it is, WayneHarrisConsulting.com. Also Instagram at Wayne Harris Consulting. Email address, I Need to edit that. Wayne Harris 905 at gmail.com. Also, you can also go to his website. All you have to do is swipe on the QR code that is to the side of his head there. It'll take you right to his website. All right, let's more comments still. This is good. Okay, let's go to Richard. Richard's on fire today saying, it's like in Canada we have 17% youth unemployment, yet keep hiring, you're probably saying, the temp foreign workers. Math is not mathing.
100%. I know of kids 15 to 20 years old that have sent out 50 to 100 resumes in their neighborhood where they live and cannot get work. There are people who live, I live in the 905, Mississauga, and there are kids that have to go 30 to 40 kilometers away from where they live to have a chance because there's a dominant culture that has those jobs. And the managers are from that culture, the people are from that culture, and they're hiring their own culture, and there's nothing you can do about it. As I drive on the highway to Montreal, if you stop at the en route gas stations, which are the Canadian Tire owned gas stations all along the 401 between Toronto and Montreal, at any one that you stop at, one culture will dominate 80 to 90% of the employees working there. And traditionally, those are not areas of Ontario where you would expect to find that culture, but they're there and they're doing their job and they're doing their best, and it's fine. I would say if Native Canadians who live in those regions were unwilling or incapable of doing the work, but I don't believe that to be the case. Someone's going to have to educate me on that, because I think that the rite of passage of working at fast food when you're 15 or 16 years old, working in retail at a mall, getting a job at your favorite sports store for running shoes and whatnot, that's a rite of passage for Canadian youth. And they're being denied that rite of passage because there's a blocker there preventing them from getting those roles. And I believe that blocker is the temporary foreign worker.
Okay. Heather Harris says, this has much to do with the protection and discrediting of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the country. It's been deemed illegal. Speaking about the number of Black women that have been lost their jobs, I believe. As with most legislation, people of African descent, African-descended women are impacted out of proportion.
No lies told in the United States. I see DEI programs going the way of the dodo bird on this side of the border, as well as people tie themselves to the U.S. mantra of DEI and critical race theory. So the echo of George Floyd of 2020, I believe, where all of these things kind of came to light and were at the forefront of policy in Canada, out of good policy, out of guilt, out of PR, whatever you want to say your motivation was, a lot of companies jumped on that bandwagon, and much money was made by people resensitizing the majority of the corporations about what was going on in the socioeconomic world, which they were either oblivious to or could choose to be oblivious to. And that now, 5 years later, for lack of a better term, the focus on that is waning. All puns intended. The focus is waning on DEI in Canada as we move further and further away from what George Floyd brought to the surface. But we saw this in 1992 with Rodney King in LA. We saw it with a number of the police shootings over the years, where you would have a blip in people caring about it, and then the PR machine would move on to the next story, and it would be a non-issue. So for those of you who are out there in the DEI world, please let me know if you're seeing the pushback, as Van Jones said, a white lash back when Trump was elected the first time. If you're seeing that in DEI in Canada, I know in the US it's really gone 180 degrees in the other direction, but in Canada, are you seeing that?
Okay. So interesting situation. the batteries for my keyboard have died, so I'm not gonna leave the conversation. All I'll be able. So most of the time when we do these things, I like to say hello to people and all that. I can't do that unless people want me to leave and get batteries to put in there. But I'm gonna stay the course. So we'll just do what we got to do. So Macmillan Group says Canada lost 66,000 jobs in August, with unemployment rate ticking up to 7.1%. This follows the loss of 41,000 jobs in July. Economists poll by LSEG Data and Analytics.
Okay.
Next
So
up,
here's what we can do, Dr. Vibe.
pardon me?
Um, why don't we pause on the comments for a second? Let me go through
Yeah,
my top
yes,
8 for life insurance,
yeah,
and
because
you
you
can
have
go
stuff
get
ready.
batteries for your keyboard. This is
All right,
the gods are working with us. So you can take off. I'll take it from here,
you sure?
and I got it.
Okay, so
I'll first
what?
tell people. Go ahead.
Okay, what I'll do is let me do this, and I will just block myself for a few minutes, get some batteries, and we'll be back. So Wayne, and don't worry, Wayne's good on his own. So we'll be back in a few moments.
Perfect.
Go ahead, Wayne.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. All right, Vibe family. Let's go back to the reasoning for this topic this month. This is Life Insurance Awareness Month, and it's really about reminding people and maybe informing people that life insurance is not mandatory. But it's interesting that everyone has insurance on their iPhone, Apple Care. They have insurance on their car because they have to. Sometimes, if you're renting or you own a home, you must have life insurance on your house, or as a tenant, you want to have life insurance in case of flood or fire. And recently in Toronto, you want to have these things because of car theft and home break ins that are happening, seem to be at a higher proportion than in the past. But Life Insurance Awareness Month was created in 2004 in the US, and Canada has kind of co opted it, and we participate in it as well. And really, what we want to do is take away the superstition or stigma that if you say life insurance 3 times, you're going to die. It's kind of like Beetlejuice. You say Beetlejuice 3 times, Beetlejuice appears. If you were looking at life insurance, if you say something's going to happen to you or somebody close to you, it's a superstition. A lot of times with people from the community. But I want to take you through my top 8 as to why you really need life insurance. Number 1, you want to protect your loved ones. I have recently lost one of my best buddies from way back in the day, and he died at the tender age of 56. And to say he would not be here today would be the understatement of the year. When I say this guy was working out, he was dieseled, the arms, from the outside looking in, nothing looked wrong with this young man. But he passed last year. But here's the good thing for his family. He had a lot of things in place that a lot of people don't have. He had a will, he had a living will, he had a power of attorney, and he had life insurance. So his family would not be in economic catastrophe with his passing. Gone too soon for sure, but gone with taking full responsibility of his family and his wife and his 4 kids, and made sure he had things in place. So you want to look out for your family and make sure that they can pay off the mortgage, take care of any household living expenses, any debts that they have are paid off, and cover the funeral costs. So that's the first thing. Loved ones. Number 2, income replacement. Hey, I know people who have 1-year old babies. And if something were to happen to them, that baby still needs to get to adulthood as if their income is still there, even if they're not. So you need to have enough life insurance. We want to multiply by the number of years you want your spouse to have your income coming in as if you're here, whether you're here or not. That could be to age 15. Most people will go to 18 so the child can finish high school. Some people go to 21. Most of my clients will look at income replacement in the life insurance until age of 21, giving the remaining spouse enough money to get that child all the way to full adulthood, American adulthood at 21, 19 in Ontario, and 18 in Quebec. All right. 3, you want to pay off debts. You do not want to leave a legacy of debt. You want to leave a legacy of at least where you are right now or a legacy of wealth. And you can do that with life insurance because life insurance pays out tax-free. It bypasses your estate and is creditor protected. And there is no probate with life insurance. Therefore, a death certificate is produced, and within 30 days of that death certificate, that money will be in your bank account. Now, here's the thing, that money can go into the bank account lump sum, or it can go in monthly. We'll talk about that in a second. So paying off debt is number 3. So number 1, we're taking care of the loved ones. Number 2, we're income replacing. Number 3, we're paying off debt. Number 4, hey, estate plan, right? We want to make sure you have estate taxes. In this province of Ontario and in the United States, when you die, you still have to do a tax return. When my father passed in March of 2023, we had to pay taxes on everything he made between January 1st and March 10th. Oh, they came asking for their money. Not even a letter of condolences. They're like, hey, make sure you give us his last tax return. And we did that. Maybe you want to leave an inheritance for your kids or for your spouse, right? Maybe for your school or for your church, for your charity of choice. You can do that with life insurance. When you see these buildings, you drive up and down University Avenue in Toronto, and you see the Joe and Molly Cancer Ward or the so-and-so Heart Center. 9 out of 10 times, these guys didn't do it with their own cash. They did it with a life insurance policy that paid out to the hospital. And guess what? If you do that for the hospital, you give them enough money to put your name on those walls or those wards or whatever. The hospital is nonprofit, so it's a charitable donation. So you actually get a tax receipt to reduce your capital gains on your estate when you donate to nonprofits and charities. So think about your church and think about your church struggling with AV, or they need a roof, or they need money for the youth programs or for the senior programs. You can donate money to those entities, and those entities will give your estate a tax receipt, reducing your capital gains. Taxes that you would have to pay. That's number 4. Number 5, business planning. Hey, you have a partnership, you have a business, you're the only partner there, you have 2 partners. Well, listen, you don't want to pass away and have your spouse running the company and she knows nothing about it. But because you didn't put anything in place, now she's a 50-50 partner with your old partner, and the colors for the company were black, and now she wants to make it purple. And she has a 50-50 right to do so. No. You want to have key person insurance for your business so that it pays out to either partner, so their spouses are taken care of, and the remaining partner will take over 100% of the business. So you have the ability to do that. You can have insurance on the corporate side to take care of the directors of the company, and you can have insurance on the personal side. And we can talk about that. And depending on how it's structured, there may be some tax advantages on doing insurance and certain types of insurance through the business. Also, number 6 is really peace of mind, knowing that your family is going to be okay. When I talked to my brethren the week before he passed, I didn't know. I don't think he knew. Maybe he knew and he didn't tell me. But we knew we had put some things in place that his family would be okay. He was responsible to his last breath. And I was in the room for the first time in my life when I saw someone take their last breath. And I can tell you, you are, you think you're an adult, you think you're mature, you think you've seen it all. And then you see that and you know how serious life can be for the families that are there. And once I saw that happen, he took his last breath. I knew that whatever I could do for his family at that moment, I said, okay, now whatever I can do to help, making sure I maintain my boundaries and making sure that I'm not stepping on anyone's toes. I'm down to help everyone in that family until I'm no longer here, because I believe he would have done it for me. Number 7, affordability. People want to get life insurance when they're older. Life insurance gets more expensive as you get older. The youngest age you can insure a human being is 15 days old, because between 0 and 14 there's something called sudden infant death syndrome, and babies die for reasons they still can't explain to this day, which is kind of interesting. But on day 15, you're a viable human being, and when you insure at age 0, before the child gets tested for sickle cell, before the child gets tested for epilepsy, Before you see anything of autism, you insure that child, not because you want the child to die, but because you want to get the absolute lowest price and most insurance for your money. Because last time I checked, death is like Floyd Mayweather, undefeated. Okay? So therefore, if you know death is going to come at some point in your life, 44 for my mother, 90 for my father, 56 for my boy, right? We don't know. So, but we know it's coming. So you can plan for it at very lowest cost. This has been done by some communities for over 100 years. The Rockefellers did this. The owner of the insurance was the trust. The insured was the person in the family, and the beneficiary was the trust. So life insurance can be a very, very powerful tool for generational wealth for your family. Number 8, tax-free benefit. There's no tax on life insurance. If you have cash value in your policy, there's death benefit and cash value. If you have cash value, you can borrow against the cash value and pay no tax. It's incredible, right? And it's like a snowball. Some insurance policies will pay out 12, 13, 14, 15% and beyond. Others will guarantee you to pay at least 6%. And the last one, the common types of insurance, there's term insurance, which is temporary insurance, like renting insurance. So you would get temporary insurance. You have a 30-year mortgage, you get 30-year term insurance. And you can get term insurance that has a declining amount of insurance. As the mortgage goes down, you have less insurance, so you're paying less for this declining term. But this term insurance, based on your life, not based on the mortgage, will pay you. Because when you get insurance from the creditor insurance or mortgage protection insurance, it only covers the mortgage. It does not cover the funeral, does not cover the taxes, does not cover anything for inheritance for your family. It only covers the mortgage. And usually, dollar for dollar, term insurance on the human being is less expensive than mortgage protection insurance, which only pays the bank back for the mortgage. And the bank says, we got our money, good luck. Why would you do that? So we do a lot of replacing of those types of policies with life insurance policies depending on the health and the age of the person getting insured. So term insurance, temporary insurance, great for mortgages, very inexpensive during the period that you have it, but at some point it will expire and the price will go up significantly. So we have to watch that to make sure if you have life insurance, kudos to you. But if you have life insurance and it's term insurance, know when that trigger is coming and see what you can do to govern yourself accordingly. Holler at your boy. I'm bald. I'm bespectacled. I'm bearded. I'm Bajan. Holler at your boy. All right. Then the last two are whole life insurance, which is a permanent insurance. It will be there. If you live to 120, it will be there at 120. You try to get it as young as you can because it'll be less expensive. But whole life has 2 buckets of cash, the death benefit and the cash value. And the cash value is guaranteed by the company. Guaranteed. There are very few guarantees in life. So you have things like GIC. So imagine a GIC with a death benefit attached to it. That's what whole life is. But all of it pays out tax free. And whole life can have something called dividends. And the dividends for some companies have never paid below 6%. That's 2 or 3 times the rate of inflation in a dividend. And the dividend is not guaranteed, but has never failed to pay out since World War II. At 5%, 6% or better. It's never failed to pay out. It's not guaranteed, but never failed to pay out. Whole life policy. And the third type of insurance is universal life insurance, where you control the investment portion. Death benefit, cash value, but you control what the cash value is invested in, and you can put that into an ETF, exchange traded fund, and get 11% return, which is double what the whole life will do. But you better watch it because it has market exposure and it can go up and down. This can cause problems for people where they say, I thought I had $100,000 in there, and then COVID happens and now you have $40,000 in there, right? So you have to know if you're savvy, you can go with universal life because you're going to be watching it and playing with it and doing your thing and balancing it out. But if you're not savvy, you want to set it and forget it, whole life insurance. And let me tell you, Ray Kroc bought his first McDonald's with a cash value and a whole life policy. Walt Disney bought his land for Disney with the cash value in a whole life policy. So whole life policies can be weaponized to be another asset class for you to do investing. I'll stop there.
Yeah, take a sip of whatever you're sipping there, man.
Yes.
You're on fire. So good. And thank you for allowing me to go get batteries. Everything's back in working order now. There's a whole various amount of comments. I'll stick to the ones that have to do with life insurance because there's still comments that we haven't chatted about yet about employment and all that sort of stuff. But we'll keep the main thing the main thing.
Sure.
Let me just see here. Okay. Heather Harris says it's about protection and peace of mind. Let's see what else we got going on here. There's a lot to catch up. Okay, Minnie St. Clair. Hey, Minnie, what's going on? It says, it took me a few years, but I found myself the right insurance that has no medical exam. Most agents were telling they cannot find me a plan, but I found it and something that does not affect ODSP. Okay. Richard has, how to increase the cash value in your policy?
You can't play with the cash value in your policy. It's kind of like once it leaves the gate, there's something called additional deposit options. So you can put the minimum amount of money that's going to be allocated towards a cash value, and then you can put extra money on top of that. Additional deposit options. You have to do it at the beginning of the policy. So these are discretionary. So let's say you said I'm going to have a $200 a month policy, and of that $200 a month, let's say $50 goes towards the cash value. The other $150 is the base insurance. You can say I want to put an additional deposit option of another $150, and when you have it, you can put that into the policy, and that increases your cash value. When you don't have it, you can call the company and say, hey, this month is kind of tight. I'd like to go back to my minimum amount for insurance, $200. I don't have the $350 this month or for the next little while. And they'll say, fine. The policy will maintain itself at $200. Cash value will be lower, but always increasing because it can't go backwards with a whole life policy. But when you say, okay, I'm back in the job, I'm doing okay, I'd like to start back with my extra $150 a month, you can do that. That's whole life policies. With universal life policies, where you control the investment, you can add. It used to be unlimited before 2017, but now you can put lump sums, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 into the policy, into the cash value. There is a limit of how much money you can put in above and beyond into the cash value. There's an upper limit. Anything above that will become taxable. So whatever that amount is for the maximum for the annual premium, you can put that maximum in and still be tax free. So universal life, when used correctly, you can dump tens of thousands of dollars in there per year extra, only going towards the cash value because the cost of the insurance has been satisfied. Holler at your boy if you want to know more.
We've got a lot of people watching live because there's lots of comments, but also, again, folks, you can holler at your boy live right now if you want. I'm really pushing this because I want people, again, whether you got a smartphone, laptop, desktop, tablet, go to callme.road.com. When you go to that website, it's going to ask you got to put in this code FSPL8L. Make sure the letters are in capitals. Then put in your name, and you'll see a green button come up, join call. I can patch you in, and you can ask questions of Wayne in real time. All right? Heather Harris says, guaranteed as long as all premiums are paid. Also, another comment here. Stanley Paul says, life insurance is definitely lacking our community. The Beetlejuice analogy is on point. Education such as in this program is key. Thank you. All right, good stuff. Richard.
Yeah. So you have you. So let me hold on 1 second there, Dr. Vibe.
Yeah, go ahead.
The whole life policy is guaranteed as long as premiums are paid. That is true and not true. because if there's enough cash value in that whole life policy, you can actually stop paying the premiums and go on a premium holiday for months or years, and the policy will still be in effect, but you're eroding the cash value to not have to pay the premium. Just one point of expansion there.
All right, got comments are just flying. So Richard says, awesome details. Universal versus versus whole policy. I will. What will you do? You said I will. You gotta. We're not mind readers here. Also, in-house, Dr. Tachi. Good to have you here as always, Dr. Tachi. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Let's see more comments. All right, I'm gonna ask you a question, Wayne.
Sure.
How much coverage do most people actually need, and what simple formula can listeners or people watching this live on the replay use today?
Great question. I think that people always say, "I need $1 million. I need $1 million in life insurance." No, what you need is what you need. So how do you determine that? Just rule of thumb. There's an acronym called DIME. D, Delta, I, Igloo, M, Mike, E, Echo, Charlie. So DIME. D is how much debt do you have that is not your mortgage? So how many credit cards, lines of credits, car payments, Apple phone financing, all the different things that you have that are debt. Add that all up in your head, okay? Or write it down, add it all up, good, debt. Then look at your income. If you don't have any children and your spouse, if you have a spouse, wants to have 5 or 10 years of income after you pass away, you will do your income, your existing income. You can do net if you want to live better. You can use gross if you want to live better, net if you don't. You want to live at the exact level you're living now. So let's say you make $100,000 a year and your net income is $86,000 a year or $75,000 a year, and you want to give them 10 years of income replacement, it'll be $750,000 as if you're here for the next 10 years, whether you're here or not. So add up all your debt. Let's say you got $50,000 in debt, and you have you make $100,000 a year, but your net income is $75,750 plus the $50,000 in debt is $800,000. Now you have a mortgage. Let's say the mortgage is another $400,000. So now you're at 1.2, and then you have education for 2 kids at $100,000 each. 1.3, 1.4. How much insurance do you need? 1.4 million. Right? Because I can justify those numbers. Now, if you say to me, I've got a 2-year-old, like I just insured a child, she was born in July. Her premiums were dirt cheap. Her cost was dirt cheap. So our parents put the policy together, and we watched what the money was going to be by age 20, by age 50, by age 65, by age 85, age 100. Unbelievable return on investment. And they're only paying for the policy for 20 years. When the child's 20 years old, no more premiums, but the cash value and the death benefit continue increasing until the child meets its maker. It's fantastic. So DIME, what's your debt? All of it that's not your mortgage. Add it all up. What income replacement do you want? 0 years? If you have a 1-year-old and you want to 21, you need 21 years of income replacement, right? To give your spouse a chance and not have to work 2 jobs. What's your mortgage or mortgages? Some of you are out there buying multiple properties. And then what do you have for education if you want them to go to university? If you're gonna decide for them when they're born that they're gonna go skilled trade, then you don't need to save anything for education. But if you want to give them the option to go to U of T or McGill or Concordia or York or wherever, $100,000 is what it costs. How do I know? I have 2 who just finished. It's $25,000 a year if they're going to live away from home. It's $50,000 a year if they're going to go local and commute, because you're paying for rent and food when you go away, plus them traveling back home on the Go bus, Go train, or whatever they're going to use. And if they're out of province, maybe via rail or fly them home for holidays because you want them for Thanksgiving, Christmas, and so on. And at the end of the semester, pack up all their stuff. If they're out of province, you may just put it in storage, or rent a U-Haul, drag it all back, put it in the garage. Ask me how I know. and then drag it all the way back for them when the semester starts again. And I'll pause there.
All right. Richard says that formula is the elevator out of poverty for your next generation or your child or children.
100%. Dime is simple. Now, some people are going to say to me, you know what, Wayne, it came up to 1.6. We're going to do the math, and a whole life policy at 1.6 might be more than your mortgage, but a term policy at 1.6 might only be less than $100. So we're going to mix and match and do a hybrid policy where the foundation is going to be permanent insurance, either universal or whole life, and then the top up to get us to 1.6 will be the term portion. And again, we can have declining term because as the child gets older and becomes more independent, you may need less life insurance. As the mortgage gets paid down, as the debt gets paid off, you may need less life insurance. And decreasing term is absolutely fantastic. Not all companies have it, but you can use that to reduce your upfront costs. And if you say to me, hey, I want 1. I know I need 1.6, but I can only afford 1, I just have to document that you decided based on budgetary reasons. I have to show my regulator that I showed you 1.6 and you chose 1 million or less, and
Oh,
why
can
you
I just
chose it.
interrupt for a
And go from
second?
there.
I think we have a caller. Caller, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I thought someone was calling in.
I heard something for a second.
Hello?
Hello?
Oh, you're very low.
Very low.
I don't know why.
Sounds like the sister.
Yes, it is the sister. Hold on. Let's see if I
Yeah,
can
it's
increase your volume. Is that, go ahead.
hardly anything here.
There we go.
Okay, now we can hear you.
Fantastic. Good
Okay, we
morning.
got ya.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Outstanding and blessed, Heather Harris. What's going on?
Good morning,
I'm
sister.
wonderful. I wanted Wayne to talk about long-term insurance. That's one of the major reasons why I ended up getting insurance. I was 57 years old. I saw, our father die, and he was in Montreal, but I'm in the US, and things are very different here. In order to get long-term care, if you go to one of these places, even for assisted living, you got to sell your house, your car, your farm, everything, and give them that money. And then you're still giving them like $7,000 a month. So long-term care insurance is really important for, at least I saw it important for me as a single woman who without children. Where do you go? How do you live if you need care unexpectedly? I don't expect to need care, but unexpectedly. Can you talk a little bit, Wayne, about the importance of long-term care insurance and what it provides?
100%. Good question. Again, knowledge is king, context is queen. So in the United States, where it's every man and woman for themselves as it relates to healthcare, without having universal healthcare, long-term care insurance and life insurance, critical illness insurance, disability insurance, all very important. Income supplemental insurance, very important in the United States. In Canada, where I'm licensed, so I'm going to speak to the Canadian context so that I stay on side with my regulator. I'm going to say this about the United States. Medical bankruptcy is 37% of all bankruptcies in the United States. Right? People get sick, and if they don't die, life insurance takes care of them if they die. But if they don't die and they're infirmed, they run out of cash before they run out of month. And that's a problem. So in the US, long-term care makes sense. Having policies that will provide you with an income into your golden years makes a whole lot of sense in the US. So I'll leave it at
Can
that.
you just add something here? When
Sure.
you talk about medical bankruptcy, I'm not bankrupt by any means, but about a year and a half ago, I went someplace and I fainted, and they called the ambulance. Turned out I was very dehydrated. They called the ambulance. The ambulance came. They took me to the hospital. It must have been about a 10-minute ride. And here, I remember a student telling me several years ago, he was a first responder, and he said, when you call the ambulance, they're not regulated. They can charge anything they want. And so for this 10-minute ride, after I got out of my being dazed and confused, I got the bill. And the bill for the 10-minute ride was 1,300 US dollars.
Ooh.
All right.
Exactly.
And then the other bills came in.
Right. Exactly. So,
Thousands of dollars unexpectedly.
mhm, mhm.
Thank you, Wayne.
No, no, you're welcome. So again, in the United States, where there is no universal health care, there's historic reasons for that, and you depends on who you talk to, you get different answers. But all roads lead to racism for the reason why universal health care is not available in the United States, because certain populations would benefit from universal health care that certain populations do not want to benefit from it. And that's the only reason you don't have it. I mean, certain states have it. I know Massachusetts does, but maybe Vermont does. I think Bernie's up there in Vermont. I think they have it as well. But for the majority of states, they don't have it because there are people that do not want certain cultures to have access to it because it would extend their lives, and they do not want to extend the lives of those populations. I'll leave it at that. Okay? In Canada, long term care also is a challenge. It can be very expensive when it's private, but there is long term care that will accept, public long term care that will accept your pension as your payment. So if you have Canada Pension Plan and Old Age Security, and those are only two pensions you have, you will be, should a room be available, the other issue, in a public facility that's of quality for your family, where they're not going to be isolated because no one looks like them or no one speaks their language. All those things combined, you can get access to public long-term care here at a fair price, still something around $2,000. But to get the better care, the private care, with the 3 meals a day and all the different facilities and different animations you're going to use for that person, because you have to think about long-term care if you're lucid, or long-term care if you're incapacitated by dementia or Alzheimer's. You don't want someone who's lucid in a home with everyone who is not in their right mind. That's devastating. So in Canada, you can use disability insurance, but it only covers you to age 65. You can use critical illness insurance, which will cover you to usually 65, 75, or age 100. And you can use living benefit within these policies that will also cover you for the rest of your life, and you can draw down on those funds tax free, depending on the policy and how it's structured. So long-term care in Canada is an issue because we don't have the beds, and for whatever reason, we can't get shovels in the ground to make those beds in the areas where the people that look like us are at a fair price because of the cost model, development fees, and profit taking that has to be had in order for people to put those shovels in the ground versus a condo, a house, or commercial building. It's all about opportunity cost. But we know that we are. I do not know if anybody on this call knows of a black-owned long-term care facility that has an elevator, not a house, not an apartment, not a low-rise apartment building, but an actual multi-story with an elevator, with facilities and gyms and activity centers and multi-purpose rooms and all the different bells and whistles, that is black-owned in Canada. I'll expand it to Canada. Let me know, because I would like to know where that is, because we need more of it, especially in the GTA. Good question.
Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you for Heather for taking the time to call in. Very nice. And I see people, it works if you work it.
Agreed.
That's what we want, people to call in. So Dr. Tachi says, hey, Heather. Dr. Tachi goes, ooh, with some of the comments that you shared, and also to spite about some of the tactics that are going on in the U.S. Minnie says, yes, that's why being on ODSP and planning out insurance is a challenge to the policy designed if they do not want you to have too large of assets that could improve your quality of life.
Right.
Heather says, you can pay for someone to come into your home?
Yes, you have the personal support workers that will. One of the things we're trying to do, because we're not building long-term care facilities in Canada, at least in Ontario, the government of Ontario and the government of Canada are coming up with a tax credit for people to grow old in place. So stay in your house and add the grab bars to your washroom. Get rid of the tub and get a walk-in tub or a shower only. So you don't have to step over this 18-inch barrier to get into the tub, which will cause slip and falls. Get the chair lift that will take you to the upper floor of your house and bring you back down safely, rather than you trying to walk down the stairway that you've been living in for 30 years. It was fine in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, but now in your 70s and 80s, that stair could be treacherous. One slip, and it's 15 stairs to the ground, and they may not find you for days if you're single. So put in those things in place, put in the cameras in place, put in the lifeline, I'm falling, I can't get up. Things in the homes of your parents is paramount. We put cameras in the common areas for our father when he was in his last year in his home, so that if we didn't see him on camera in any room, we called. And he would say, I was in the bathroom. It's okay. We don't have any cameras in the bathroom. He would say, I'm in my bedroom. We didn't have any cameras in his bedroom. But if he was walking up and down the hallway, he was in the kitchen, he was in the front room watching TV, or the dining room watching TV, we could see from the States, my sister, and from Mississauga here for me. And if we saw him, I remember just dialing into the camera. I had a break in appointments, and I just saw him sitting in the living room with his hand in his head, just I don't know if he was depressed or
Yeah.
just thinking. But I called. Hey, how's it going, sir? And he say, I'm just here relaxing, doing my thing, and just talk to him, because I can tell you that being alone without a social network during COVID, and being alone, period, without a social escape, I'm talking regular, like daily social interaction, is worse than smoking 2 packs of cigarette a day in terms of what it does to your body and what it does to your psyche. Loneliness takes out more people than 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
100% on that. 100% on that. 100%. I fully agree on that. Some more comments here. Richard says, gonna need an Inspector gadget to find that. Minnie says, and having someone coming to your home can be more affordable, I have found.
Agreed.
There is an Ontario Home program. Your doctor has to fill out the form. She also says occupational therapists will plan out your home to be more optimized.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, she says Apple Watch has a fall alert.
Yeah, most of the seniors aren't using that kind of tech, which is why Lifeline has the one button, make it easy. But to
Yeah.
her point, sure.
Richard says, yes, new government tactic, instead of building proper care facilities, yet we don't have enough PSWs for this program.
Right.
And
Mhm.
Richard also says big issues, isolation. Roger
100.
says one of the key things you said is to start your insurance as early as possible. Critical.
Grandparents do it for grandchildren. If your children, let's say they're in their early 30s, we had our kids in our early 30s, and to say that money was tight would be an understatement. But if the grandparents are flush with cash, the grandparents can buy the policies for the kids, and the grandparents can put a sum of money into an account that even if you were to pass away, that account will cover the premiums for the insurance. So you can do that as grandparents. Again, this is generational wealth talk that we're talking about.
Absolutely. McMillan Group says cameras are such an important feature in the homes of our elders who wish to age in place. Some cameras even include an audio feature.
Ours did. We could talk to them through the cameras.
And I always like to bring up this example, and I may have mentioned it periodically, but I always want to show this. And this happened a number of years ago. My dad had One of them is no longer, but I'm going to talk about him in this situation. Two close friends he knew from Montego Bay, Jamaica to up here, known each other for 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the gentlemen worked at a company called Polygon, who made big, huge transformers. Retired.
Mm-hmm.
And as he was going into his older age, he became really ill. He could afford to have 24/7 care at his home.
Amazing.
I know that extended his life for many years. He had someone there, a caregiver, 24/7, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
How rare, let alone, no matter what culture, how rare do you hear something? And he took care of his money. He took care of his money. My dad and another close friend were executors of his will, and I felt very humble. He said if one of them cannot do it any further, he wanted me to do it. So I got insight on all these things, on what to do, what not to, visiting banks, going through all that stuff.
Right.
Which is another reason for everyone here, make sure you have a good relationship with your bank. Not only for when you are alive, but especially when you transition.
I'm going to take it one step further. Get everything out of the bank that doesn't need to be in the bank before you transition, because anything that's in a bank becomes a part of your estate, and the estate is taxable. Anything that sits in an insurance company can do exactly what the bank can do, but is non-taxable because it's part of the life insurance, and therefore transitions without a will, just a death certificate, tax-free within 30 days. So the bank won't tell you that, but I can tell you that. Okay? So I love the banks. I work with all of them. But anything that does not need to be in a bank does not need to be there. GICs, get them out. TFSA, get it out. RSP, get it out. Locked in retirement account, get it out. Anything that is in a bank that is investment grade, non-registered or registered, does not need to be in the bank and does not need to be included in your estate, and therefore reduces your taxable footprint. I want you to take your taxable footprint from a size 13 male, which is mine, to a size 7 girls. Right? Tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is your God-given right. And this is an opportunity for you to take an inspection of where you have your money. Having money is one thing. Where you have it is also another. And I can show you how to get that money from trustee to trustee, no tax when you do that. And then whenever that day comes, and it will come because we're all human, that money goes to who you want it to go to, named beneficiary. One thing I'm going to say about beneficiaries is I have many blended families in my community. Half brothers, half sisters, ex-wives, ex-girlfriends who they had kids with, and people are not paying attention to their beneficiaries. So think about this scenario. The person is married. They get separated. They've been separated for years because they don't want to spend money on the divorce. They now live in with their new person. They have kids with the new person. They die. They had life insurance at work and they had life insurance before, but guess whose name is the beneficiary? The ex-partner who they haven't lived with in over 10 years is the named beneficiary on the insurance, and the insurance doesn't care if you're divorced or not. Whoever's name is the beneficiary gets the money. So you're living with this woman now, and I'm going to say woman because most of the guys I'm talking to who fall into this category, you're living with her. You love her. You're taking care of business. You have kids with her. Your ex is over there. You're no longer in love with her, but you have kids over there. The ex-wife gets the money. And this wife this girlfriend is common law with you, is devastated because she is not named beneficiary and she can't do anything about it. So everybody, when you get off this call, go dust off those policies that you have on paper, pull them out and see whose name is on it. You might be very unpleasantly surprised by who would benefit from your demise.
100%. 100%. Some more comments here. Richard says, my mom set up an account for all 8 grandkids.
Love her, love her, love her. Great.
Ricky also says he says I was about to say that, Wayne. Bang, don't leave it in the bank.
Yeah.
Heather says important knowledge. Only use the bank for what is necessary. We love banks, but they humor us for lack of knowledge.
They will. Well, let me ask you this, Vibe. Who do you bank with?
Canada Trust.
TD. Fantastic. Would TD tell you that RBC has a better deal for you?
No.
Why?
Because banking is a business. They don't want to lose money getting money from me.
Right. So, Dr. Vibe, is TD checking for you or checking for themselves?
Themselves.
All right. That's all I got to say. Carry on.
Thank you. McMillan Group says that includes the use of safety deposit boxes also. Those two become part of the estate at death.
Yes, yes, and yes.
Oh
Because we
boy.
could not get in, we could not get into our father's safety deposit box until we produced the will
Wow. Okay.
and the death certificate.
Heather says do not name the estate, name a beneficiary.
Name anything that names the estate is taxable. Listen, name your church, name your old school, name your community center, like Tropicana or Taibu or whatever. But if you name the estate, you take something that's non-taxable and you make it taxable. So have your friendly neighborhood, bald, bearded, bespectacled, Bajan financial advisor take a look at your paperwork. I'll do it for free, complimentary, to take a look to see where it's going so you can optimize it for the next generation.
Nice. I'm also going to ask a question here. Well, some questions for you. What's the most common mistake you see in the Black environment regarding life insurance?
Believing that saying life insurance out loud 3 times will cause you to die right there on the spot. Not having the discussion on the estate plan. If you say will to certain people in our community, they're like, "So you want me to die? You're gonna poison me? You're looking for my money? I'm gonna leave you with nothing because you're asking questions." No, we're not asking questions because we want your money. We're asking questions because when that day comes, I do not want it to be a disaster for me because I'm the one who's going to be on the hook having to do all these unwinding your SIN number, unwinding your passport, unwinding your driver's license, unwinding all your bills, and I have to have the ability to do it. They're going to say, "Who are you?" And I have to be able to say, "I am power of attorney," so I can go and do those things while you're alive and after you're gone as executor. But if you don't have a will, I'm not executor. Therefore, when I come to do those things, they just block me and they can't. And they will take the money because if you don't name a beneficiary outside the estate, the government of Ontario and the province and the government of Canada are your beneficiaries. You just made Doug Ford and Mark Carney wealthier. And in the United States, you made Donald Trump and whoever your governor is wealthier because they become the beneficiaries and they will take their pound of flesh before your family gets anything, assuming they know. So let's think about this scenario. You are from Nigeria. This is a real scenario, no names. Person is the only one of their kind in Canada. Last I checked, the Canadian dollar is much stronger than the Naira dollar in Nigeria. If they don't have a will, living will, and power of attorney, and they pass away, the province is just going to cremate the body and move on. But all the bank accounts, all the things that they have out there, their family, if they can get a visa to come to Canada, then need to hire a lawyer at Canadian dollars to get the right to go in and see what's there, only to open up the account to see this $5. But they spent the flight to Canada, they spent all the money to get the hotel, they spent all the money on the lawyer, only to find out there's $5 in the account. Or you can have a will, living will, and power of attorney and life insurance with named beneficiaries that will cover the cost for them to come and do that for you. Because if you only are in Canada for 2 years, you're not even a PR yet. Why are you being buried in Canada? And if cremation is not your jam, maybe you want to repatriate your body back to your ancestral land and be buried there. Well, why don't you leave them the money to do so? And you can do that. Will, living will, power of attorney with life insurance. That's the the four things you have to have at a minimum to put your people in place so you don't leave a disaster for your family.
Fantastic Four. The Fantastic Four. Heather says the biggest thing is not having it. Minnie says Beetlejuice. Richard says black community, like most things, maybe lack of use and sadly ignorance. We have a privacy issue when it comes to financial talks and a shame in how you've been making financial decisions, choices. And I think he
Agreed.
said lack of use. Yeah, so he corrected that there.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that the conversation is depending on whom you're dealing with. The baby boomers and the ones that are born before the baby boom do not, for the most part, do not want to have the conversation with their children, and they do not want to have the conversation at all about their transition.
So
It's a very hard conversation for children to have with their parents in the community, depending on the socioeconomic level of those parents.
some quick conversation points for you. What one rider or feature is most underrated?
Whew. I think critical illness. I think you have a better chance of getting sick than dying before the age of 75. And when you're sick and OHIP is telling you it's 9 months to fix what you could fix in 9 seconds in Buffalo, you need to have critical illness that will cover loss of sight, loss of hearing, loss of limb, loss of organ, life-threatening cancer, and life-threatening heart issues. 25 of them. And if any of those things hit you, and a specialist, not a general practitioner, a specialist says, you have this and it's life-threatening, 30 days after the diagnosis, if you survive, we're going to cut you a check tax-free for you to go get your problem solved anywhere on the planet that can solve the problem. Case in point, one of my colleagues, her daughter had a heart issue. The only way to do the surgery in Canada was to take a saw and cut open her rib cage, open her up, go in and solve the problem. That's Canada. But guess what? In Hong Kong, they have this little rotor thing that goes through a big vein in your leg and it goes up into the heart, and the robot arm does all the work, and they just bring it right back down through the leg. No scar, just as effective.
You're
You know what she
kidding me.
did? Yeah.
You're
So
kidding me.
you know what she did? She used her critical illness policy, cashed in the money because it's tax free, got on a plane, and went to private health care in Hong Kong, and came back home with zero scar, problem resolved. That's why you want to have critical illness. So, and here's the good news. If OHIP does show up and can do what Hong Kong could have done, and the time and the wait was reasonable, all she did was take that money and put it in their TFSA. You do not have to use it for the medical emergency. You can use it for anything you want. It's a hack.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's big.
Real stories from the streets, Dr. Vibe.
That's huge. That is really, really huge. Another conversation point for you. If someone was denied in the past, what's their smartest next move?
Depends on why they were denied. So I've had people denied for speeding tickets. Yeah, yeah. Because you haven't learned your lesson. You have more than X number of speeding tickets in the last couple of years. You're not learning. You're a risk. Listen. I live in Mississauga. I live next to the place with the highest auto insurance in the world, and I was coming home from downtown last night, and I saw a guy zip, 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 and I was coming on the 401 coming west, where it's going to go 410 north or 403 south, 410 north to Brampton or 403 south to Mississauga. I said when I saw the antics on the highway, so I was doing my regular speed with everybody else, and this person was doing about 160, weaving through traffic. I said to my passenger, watch that they're going to go to the right to go north. This person was driving erratically. And zip, 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 and off they went to the north. That person is going to be hard to insure if they have evidence of being addicted to speed. People who have been rejected in the past with an underwritten policy can usually get a policy from a company that does not have underwriting and will price in certain pre-existing conditions. So to Minnie's point, there are there are policies I have from 4 companies where I don't care if you have cystic fibrosis, I can still get you insurance.
Good stuff. More man, this has been good. This has been. We got some more thing here. Heather says, the service is free. What reason do you have for not protecting yourself and your family? Facts.
Yeah.
Roger Dundas says, bought CI for my kids after birth.
Let's go, Roger.
Richard says, healthcare in North America is subpar, period. If they were, Minnie says, if they were on ODSP, they would need approval from their caseworker for using their critical illness money for a disability-related expense. The Wallamala, good for you. He says, I think Brampton is the highest in the universe.
Stop it. Listen, I'm just saying that if you are a good driver and you're in Brampton, you're being penalized by a group of people that just don't get it.
Richard says, great example of why critical illness is a must, period. Great info today, my peoples. Richard says, grew up in Brampton. Mom's still there. I pray 3 times before I drive anywhere west of the GTA. That is good stuff. That is good stuff. Another question for you, Wayne. If for someone 35 with modest savings and student loans or debt, what would a starter plan look like?
Smoker or non-smoker? Any
Let's go-
pre-existing conditions or no pre-existing conditions?
Yeah, I guess that's, yeah, there's more.
Parents died before the age of 65 or didn't die before the age of 65. So all they have to do is reach out to their bald, bespectacled, bearded, Bajan financial advisor and have a conversation, and we will let you know what's possible. Because everyone should be insurable unless you have something that no company wants to touch. But I've insured people with diabetes. I've insured people with lupus. I've insured people with sickle cell. And I've insured people with muscular dystrophy. So bring it to me and let me see which of my companies that do not penalize you excessively for a pre-existing condition, whether they will take you on and at what amount and at what cost. Okay, that's like asking someone on a podcast, hey, I live in Brampton, I drive a Honda Civic, what will my insurance be? It'll be a lot in Brampton, but if you're in Pickering, it won't be as bad because you have to decide that when you buy a Honda Civic, you know you're buying one of the top 5 most stolen cars in the province.
Same like Range Rover.
Range Rover, RX 350 Lexus, Honda Accord, Ram 1500, Ford F-150. There are a few cars that are on the list. If you buy a car on that list, you better, put an air tag on it, because when it leaves your driveway, it doesn't matter if it leaves your driveway, when it leaves your driveway and gets in that container to go to wherever it's going to go in the world, you now know, based on facts, that the Canadian government isn't going to do anything about it for the most part, right?
100%.
The guy air tagged his car, got stolen out of Vaughan. He saw the car drive to Montreal, drove to Montreal, saw the car get put in the container on the Montreal dock, and the dock wouldn't allow him to come in because it was out of jurisdiction for the local police.
Jeez.
Right. And you see your car on the ship and you just wave by. Okay? And you know it's on the ship, by the way. Anyway,
Crazy.
I digress.
Well, I know, Wayne, you got to make a move as usual. You got things to do. Any closing thoughts you want to share with our audience today?
Yes, I can tell you from personal experience that our mother, who passed away in 1978, had the 4 things I spoke about on this call. She had them in place in 1978, single mom. She had a will. She had a power of attorney for her health. She had a power of attorney for her property. And she had life insurance. And because of that, my sister, myself, and my brother were able to come in, not a legacy of wealth, but we didn't come into a legacy of debt because of the action she took in 1978. And here I am, ironically, in this industry, 47 years later, and every household I go into, I'm shocked to see the lack of care and feeding with all this information on YouTube, all this information on Google, all this information in AI, all this information from people like me, and people have nothing or little in place. Which is why I know my purpose is to ensure that people have at least what my mother had 47 years ago.
Mm.
And all the other things I can do above and beyond that on the investment side, we'll talk about that another time. But if you don't have your protections in place for yourself, and people say, "Well, Wayne, I don't own anything. Wayne, I don't have any kids. Wayne, I'm not married." I'm telling you that you're going to leave whomever is next of kin a disaster if you don't have an estate plan and life insurance in place. So at least do it for whomever is your brethren or sister, so they don't have a disaster waiting for them if something should happen to you.
100%.
And if you don't have family members that you care enough about to leave them as beneficiary, hey, leave it to your church, leave it to your community center, leave it to, I know that Minnie on Cam is very dedicated to disability causes. There might be a cause that is worthy of you leaving some of that money to, in your name, your mother's name, your father's name, whatever you want to do, so they can have the resources to provide for people who can't provide for themselves.
Nice. Good way to end it off. Up on your screen right now, if you are watching this live on the YouTube channel, we'd love you to rate the conversation. 1, that was a waste of time. 5 means it's out of bounds. Some regulars have already voted, and they're saying 100% to the conversation. So if you would like to do that, we'd appreciate it, because it's only as good as you make it, or you tell us to make it. All right, some final comments. Oh, more comments here. Okay, let's do this. Okay, highest in the world. That the highest in the world by Brampton. I think that's the comment of the day. Okay, Richard says, "Thank you, Wayne, Ryan, and Dr. Vibe. Our pleasure. Thank you for people voting." Well, the Walamana says, because of the lack of action, the government has to be getting a cut behind the scenes for those auto shipments.
I don't know
Richard
about
says,
that.
Wayne is going to reach you and share the policy. I appreciate your offer. Okay, so when you gonna do it, Richard? That's my question. When are you gonna do it? And I want to make, when Wayne will tell me when you reach out. So I'm watching you. He says, I appreciate your offer. I like my agent, but the many hands make the journey lighter.
Yeah. Listen, Richard, I will tell you, I will tell Dr. Vibe that you reached out, but I will not discuss anything of your
That's right.
personal
Yep. No,
information
I'll
with
know if
anyone
you reached
in
out.
100% confidence.
Exactly.
All right.
100%.
As long as we're clear there.
Yeah, I want to appreciate all the people that have given like 5s. Opal Inspired says, "Thanks so much, Wayne. Great informative information as always." Minnie St. Clair says, my bad, it was 42 million in a donation. Lots of 5s here. Richard says, "I would like to put together a quarterly meeting with all my family, extended, whatever, to talk about financing. Wayne would love your help."
I got you.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. One small step, and that is going to be huge. All right, so let's do this. So again, if you want to get a hold of Wayne, there's a contact information on the screen. It's in the comments section on most of the platforms you're watching this live or on the replay. So as always, let's close it out. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Yes, we're at 1,890 subscribers. The next one is 1,900. So if you haven't done it, please do it. Also tell other people about the show, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Substack. Join the Discord group. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com, or click on the link that's there to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of. Email me. Love to get your support. Also, remember, coming up on Monday's show, Carolyn Nicole is going to be talking about which water, understanding the pros and cons of all types of water. Let's see. If you want to get a hold of Mr. Knight, Ryan Oneil Knight, and that's Knight with a KN, not an N. Also, LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight, Instagram at ryan.knight99, email address workwithme@ryanOneilKnight.com. Family, I've made it real simple for me. There's the link. One link now. I'm not giving all these things. Just one link takes you to all the different things. There's a page, and you click on, even if you want to email me, YouTube, all that stuff is there. All right, let's take a look at some more comments before we sign it off today, because there's a pile of things here. Let's see. Richard says, I have direct access to him. I bet you do. Richard says, he also does LOL. Richard says, another issue in our environment, because I don't think there's a Black community, that's a whole other conversation, is trust, 100%. Natalie, thank you for such important information. Appreciate it. And why don't you give Wayne a call? Can't go wrong. Complimentary. Stanley says, thank you, brothers. Thank you back, Stanley. And Natalie says, Richard hit the nail on the head. Hashtag hood villains topic for another show. So this has been amazing as always, everyone. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace, and if you're not making money, make history. But try to do both and always make it better. Thank you, everybody. This is so good. We had such good interaction today. Wayne is happy. I'm happy. But most importantly, we want to make sure you're happy. Look at this. Look at this. Natalie says, I have a direct line to Wayne. Friends for almost 40 years. There we go. Thank you so much for the support. As always, God bless. Peace be all. Keep the faith while good. And we'll catch you soon.
This whole thing of using your business with plant-based products, don't you think your life should reflect that too?
Juke him, Carolyn. Juke him. The family loves us here because they're saying Fitness IQ Can says put a wig on to get in.
Oh God. Oh my God.
Like the ideas are just coming fast and furious here this morning. What? Okay, look at this. Global Women Ambassador. Good morning. Look forward. Okay.